Hi, I'm Ted with Everything Attachments. We're today with our newly designed version 2 of what was always our compact plow. In the mid-70s, tractors, the Ford, the Yanmar came in, a lot of tractors, they just simply got a lot smaller than they had been for many years, and that's what kind of created the compact tractor. So in the mid-70s, early 80s, Lineback designed a plow. It looked a lot like this to start with, and a lot of what I've done to it to change it didn't matter. It was just all they needed at that point was a smaller plow that was lower where the beam was lower to the ground, because the tractors went from being a big tall tractor to a much shorter tractor. Everything else would still work, so they just lowered the beam. Everything worked good for many years. And then they invented the subcompact tractor, which has a very unstandard Category 1 hitch. It is a Category 1 hitch. It's called a limited hitch, and it creates a lot of problems to put a good plow and everything you need together. Now, to start with, a BX subcompact and a B Kubota both have what's called an up or down lift. You've got your lever for your lift. You're either down, neutral, or up. There's no position. A position control lift, where you put it is where it goes. And so you can always go back to the same spot. So you can't really do that on an up or down lift. And it's a little bit hard to control, especially on the underground implements. So if you've got an up or down lift on any tractor, and it's a small tractor, the first option I recommend on a plow is that gauge wheel. Now, we went to a lot of trouble to get rid of the cheap gauge wheel that we used to buy, which had a rubber donut on it. In a couple, 3 years, it cracked and fell off. You had to replace it. So we just made it out of a solid steel pipe, cut our own spokes out on the laser, built everything out of steel. We build basically everything on this plow except for this blade, the pins and the bolts. Everything else we build. So what we did was, the original plow had a narrow hitch, and that helped in some cases for smaller tractors. But a BX and a B, the small John Deeres, any tractor that has the stabilizers on the inside instead of the outside going to the rear wheels, and there's simply not enough room to have a Category 1 hitch and still go to the outside on a subcompact tractor. So what we did was, we widened this beam here quite a bit where we could slide the plow over, because once you make your first furrow, then you're going to put your tractor tires in it. And at that point, the plow can't be behind your tire because you're back in the ditch. And that's where the other plow ended up. You were having to really offset your chains way over to one side to try to get the plow more towards the center of the tractor. So what we've done is, we've lengthened this bar, made it where you could push the plow all the way over to one side. That puts the colter, and this is what cuts, especially for a smaller tractor, to make it easy to pull. Turf is actually the hardest thing to go through, even usually worse than hard dirt. So if you've got turf or it's a new garden, you definitely want the colter feature. That's going to slice the ground and the roots before it gets to the plow, so it can just flip it over instead of having to tear all that at the same time with the horsepower of a really small tractor. And the gauge wheel just saves you on setting it on the height you want to plow at. You drop your lift all the way down, you're good to go. Now, we put a clevis hitch on this instead of a pin, so you wouldn't have to loosen up your stabilizers all the way, bring it to the outside of the pin, then have to retighten everything. So this is set at a standard Category 1 width. Also, the top link, if you notice, where the pins are for your drawbars, they're way back in there. The top link is way back out here. So the geometry of that has to be changed, and this has to be shortened so the plow doesn't do this, and when you raise and lower it when you're in the ground, you want it to stay kind of flat, so when you adjust it up or down, it doesn't change the pitch a lot. So we've made 5 or 6 of these just to get the geometry exactly right for you. if you've got a subcompact tractor. Or whether it's a John Deere, Kubota, if it's a subcompact or a small tractor, this is the plow you want. We offer it in yellow at Everything Attachments or orange on Landshark attachments. This is a standard old style Ford plow mow board that I've designed a little differently. We do buy that from Empire Plow. The rest of it we make, the shin, the mow board. And the mow board has a design that I put on it because where we are, we have really bad red clay, and when it's got a little bit of moisture in it, it gets really sticky. So it has a cavity right here to let the air suck in and get behind that clay so it doesn't try to stick to the mow board and lets it roll on over. It makes it a lot easier. It is shear bolt protected back here with a shear bolt, and so after a lot of trouble and making a lot of these, we've raised the hitch pins a little bit. When we were doing our last plow video, I noticed we were all the way down as far as the tractor lift would go, and that's as far as it would go. And sometimes when the front of the tractor would dip down, the plow came up too far. It would actually lift the gauge wheel off the ground, so you don't want that. So I raised this up so you wouldn't have to. This is adjustable, and the other side has 2 holes. But this is really where you want to keep it. So since I changed this so you wouldn't have to change your 2 lift links every time you wanted to plow and then change them back for your regular implements. So this plow is 100% designed to work on a small compact tractor. It's what we've worked at for the last couple of months to just get right and perfect and make it easy. It's the first time we've had the colter in the middle and got clearance for everything. If you need any help sizing the plow, getting the right options for your tractor, just give us a call or an email and we'll be happy to help you.